Top of the morning to you. Hey, I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on the show on this Monday morning. I think it's September. I usually have the month wrong. The other day I said 8-2 and it was 9-2. I only missed it by a month. Okay. Uh, Glad to have you on the show this morning. It's a little overcast in Charlotte, North Carolina today. It's supposed to rain this week and all in through the weekend. We'll just see what happens. You know, Carol and I are pulling out of here later in the week, going to Camp David, and they're predicting rain. But guess what? When you work when you go be a part of a camp like that, Plan B, Plan A is the things you plan out. If it rains, you do Plan A. That's just Plan B. You tend to get a little wetter. That's just the way it goes. And so, but it's a beautiful property. It has all these enclosed areas and just it's fabulous. So we're gonna love it one way or the other, and take take what we get, right? Yeah. So what's amongst friends? All right. So hey, welcome on the show this morning. It's uh, uh Michelle reminded me this morning. She sent me a text early on and said, "Hey, are you painting today? Some folks want to know. It's Labor Day." And I went, "Well, painting is not labor in my mind." That's what I did. And I responded back and said, I posted a bit of a little piece that you can go back and read later on my first show, What I Feel About Work. And it's not original. I actually quoted where it came from. So let me say hello to some of you here, and then I'll tell you about how I feel about this. Let me make sure I've got a picture-in-picture scene here. This may jump to somewhere else, so just hold on one second here. Nope, there it is. It looks like it's just a tad fuzzy. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe so. Let me see if I can draw a little better focus on this camera. Excuse me one second here. I'm going to stand up and just re-hit this. This is a manual thing here that I do. Bloop, bloop. I'm going to focus this camera manually. It's set on automatic, but sometimes the glare of the studio lights will cause it to fuzz out a little bit. I'm going to tell you about these two little drawing pads. You've seen these before, but here's where we're going to go. So let me just say hello to you, Sharon Clark, Pat Brooks. Thanks for being first on the show this morning. Always love to have Pat on. Creative artist Sharon Clark, a storyteller Mickey Perkins. Jackie Wallace, Lana Couch, Fern Skelly says Happy Labor Day. Jason Nichols says school starts tomorrow. Okay, man. This talks for you today about work, because sometimes people see school as work, and I don't think you do. I think you see it as the way Tom Sawyer would see it. So we'll talk about that. Paula Lindy, thanks for being on the show. Nancy Catlett, always love having you and Steve on the show from up north of here a little bit. Barbara Mayer. Skeeter Powell says, "Row." Denise Albright says, "Glad to be here this morning." Glad you're here. June Jones, Beverly Schmidt. Good Labor Day morning from Greenville, Beverly says. Thank you, Beverly. Linda Linhart from, usually from still hot in Ohio. Ginger Land Pate. How about that? Ginger Land. That'd be a great middle name to have a middle name as Land. Ginger, or last name maybe, that was her. Ginger Land Pate. Good to have you on the show. Ann Westra and Annette Hinsland from up in Bird Island. There's Steve right there. Catlett, Raylene Culberson. Ryderville, Virginia, Washington. Woo-hoo-hoo. Patricia Evans. I hope you're well. Way up there in the northeast a little bit in the main country. I think every time I paint a fishing fly, I think you own more of my fishing flies than anybody else. Mike Paramore is on the show, and those of you who don't know Mike, he's a watercolor artist, but first he's a beekeeper, and so I have to say a shout out. And Mike, you're going to see some bees on the show this morning, because I got to tell you, I told you this Saturday, I'm a quarter of the way there. My goal is to paint 2,000 honeybees, and I didn't say good bees, I didn't say great bees, I just said paint 2,000 bees. Not to honor anyone. If I even took an honor in that, I would say my dad, who taught me a ton about bees, that they sting, who dropped more bees on me from here to my knees covered one time when he just let a whole brood rack that came out of a tree we cut just fall. And it just fell on me. And I go, "Get these off me." And he says, "Just relax, son." He takes his brush and the smoker, and we're like, I didn't get a sting, but I got spider bit on that whole thing. I remember all these stories so well. Mike, glad to have you on the show. Javine McCabe, thank you for being here. Rainy day in Buffalo. I was telling a story yesterday about being in Buffalo when I first met Frank Reich, who played for the Bills back then, and his great comeback. We sat at a table and had dinner one night. Nice guy. You know, he moved to Charlotte and became president of a seminary here. No kidding. Look it up. And he grabbed me in the grocery store one day here in Charlotte and goes, "Hey, friend," and his thumb shot down in here. I've got these, big old hands that I try to paint with. He had a hand that would reach around a football, man. That guy was a nice guy. So I like Buffalo. Been up there a time or two. Virginia, man. Don't you love connection stories? I love that. That's why I say hello, to just see where some of you guys are from. And Deborah Lynn Tauber says, play date. You betcha. Debbie Bennett, Miss Carla's on the show this morning. John Robert Small, blessings to you, my friend. Tammy Crandall. Tammy got a note from you that said the painting showed up. Good. Going to be 103 today from Marie Piker. Great Scott, Waldo. Teresa Clegg Salvio, Marie Clegg Salvio, the person with 4 names. I love it. Jacqueline Browse, starting your 36th year of teaching tomorrow. Blessings on you, man. Encourage those. I think it's 3rd grade, I think. Is that right? I painted with your 3rd grade class about a year and a half ago. That was fun. All right. Sharon Clifton, thank you for being on. I think I said Sharon Clark a minute ago, and I meant Sharon Clifton. See, it's close. They both start with, yeah. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. Linda Turner, thanks for being on the show. Linda Schleitning, always from, good morning, from beautiful Ohio. Always beautiful Ohio. The city council needs to hire you. And B380 arrived here in Marion, Ohio yesterday. Awesome. 2,000 bees, you got yourself a hive. Yeah, it's a small hive, though, because probably need 20,000 to make it go around, but we'll go, Mike says. All right, so here we go. Mindy Boyvin, thanks for being on the show this morning. Deborah Spangler. Golly, a lot of you people have piled on this morning. All right, 444 arrived. I love it. I love it now that the bees are showing up with numbers on them. And I'm up to 571, I think. That's where I am today. And I've got a couple here that I don't even see. Have these numbered? I think I got a couple that aren't numbered. All right, so let me just paint something first. Get back to this. I want to start a little painting here for you, and then I'm going to tell you about these two. If I forget, somebody, let me make myself a note. Drawing pads. Why are there 2 drawing pads here that look identical? So I've written myself a note to tell you about those, and then maybe a B number, and then also a little piece for today. So top of the morning to you. It's showtime. Let's get moving here. I'm going to throw some music on. Just anything that rolls will be fine today. It should be fine. Shouldn't kick me out. I paid for all of it, so we'll see what happens. All right, that's a little laid back, but we'll take it. Pentel 05 needle tip, Needle. Don't buy the ballpoint. You know what? I shouldn't say don't. You can buy whatever pen you cutting, picking, well want to. But the needle tip is the one that I like to write through watercolor with. Hey, orchestra, back off a little bit. And also, it bleeds really well in the ink, and it just gives me that little bit of a fuzzy line. And so it certainly looks like you sketched and you see it, but you get this feel for that it washes in a little bit. So that's why I use Pentel pens. They are not a sponsor. In fact, nobody's a sponsor of this show. I kid about that for a year. Pentel, they're not a sponsor yet. All right, if they knew how many pens you guys had purchased off the shelf. All right, yeah, I can't paint with that music. Okay, it's just a little too this is a little better. All right, 2 roosters here on the farm. I thought I'd just do a couple of this. I'm going to do a couple of small roosters here on this. That doesn't look too small, does it? You can always tell when the rooster's tipped over like this. He's had a rough night. No, I'm just kidding. You can always tell because it looks like he's saying something to some other little roost. So I said I was going to draw 2 roosters, so now I'm going to do this little rooster up here like this. He's kind of got his comb blown back there a little bit, so you know he's getting an earful. This just popped in my head just right before I came on the show this morning. I thought I haven't done two roos in the same little territory too fast this morning, and so I thought I'd I think you can hear me over that music just fine. I don't know. One thing about this show is I don't have a hi from sunny Holland. Ricky, it's always great to have you on the show. I think of you every now and then. I pull out my hammer mill piece of paper and I fiddle with it, but I'm going to tell you, that is hard paper for me to paint on. Woo-hoo-hoo. I love it. I love the fact that I have it. And in fact, I don't even use it all up, because sometimes when there's an artist in the studio, I'll just say, yeah, look at this. And someone send me this from Holland, and they go, what? Anyway, it's really cool. So thank you. Glad you're on the show today. I don't hear any chainsaws this morning. No, the men took down all my trees and all my money. It all happened at the same time. All right, Lori Stanley Hendelmauer Henderson, thanks for being on the show. Dorothy Beasley says, I have a small bantam. Man, bantam roosters are like, they are like a pocket of dynamite. You know, they're about this big, and they're like, I'm the biggest dog in the lot. I'll take anybody on. I love their mentality. My dad used to say, that man's like a bantam, and I knew exactly what he meant. All right, so here's my painting this morning. I got this roo and this roo, and it's a Labor Day painting. And so let me show you what I'm going to do to paint this. All right, just keep a little music going, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take some, I don't know if some of you have seen this. It's a Charvin, which is started in 1830 in Paris. I think many of you have seen this. I carried this with me in Maine, and I carried these two palettes with me. This one was sent to me by a dear friend who's a flight attendant, and she sent Carol and I both some paint. She was in Paris and went down the street to Charvin. I'm sure it's pronounced some very Charvin. And so anyway, I'll have to call my Jean Chibet and see how he pronounces it. So anyway, this Paris is 1830. There's the date right there. That's how I remembered it. She said, hey, the Hans are going to, Rue and Yaya are going to France, and they're going to paint their journals. And, you know, I do my journals over here, those accordion journals, and I want to mix them some paint. I want you to mix them some paint. That would be great for that area. And so the lady goes, where is that? She says, well, it's in Maine. So they looked it up, and she said, oh, look at the seaside and the trees. Anyway, this is what they sent me, and I think I added one color in here, moved some around. So I love that because it's just a different palette. And then this came from the Whiskey Painter's box, and this is pretty much my normal palette. I added two of the main colors in here. So sometimes when I travel and I want to travel a little quicker, in my bug out bag, you know what the bug out bags are, right? My little canvas zip bag that I travel with, which is somewhere. I'm such a marketing guy. They're all hidden up here. You can find them on the website if you don't have a bug out bag. So I'm going to paint out of one of these this morning. No reason, just going to. It's a little smaller. Note that I don't paint, for those of you who are just joining me, I normally do not paint out of a huge palette where I squeeze out all the colors and then have a big mixing area. I don't mind that at all. For me, here's why I don't do it. I have two reasons I don't do that. Let me just stop the presses here for a second. Two reasons I don't paint with a big palette. Will I ever start someday? Maybe. Is there a pan that I use sometimes when I do that? Yes, I have a pan that I hear that I put some in. It must be over there. It's a butcher's tray. I do love that because when I want to lay a bamboo brush down and really roll the edge in it. But the majority of the time, because I paint small paintings, I tend to use a smaller palette, and I mix the paint on the paper, especially if I'm using this Kilimanjaro 140 pound. This is Cheap Joe's Art stuff. I love this paper. It's 100% cotton. If I'm painting on that, I like to let the paint just mix on the paper. Some of you, I repeat this over and over, and then one day you'll go, I know why he does that. It's just part of muscle memory buildup. And so for me, it's the normal things that I talk about and say when I'm doing a class, I'm just going to spray a little bit of clean water on these colors to just yell at them, wake up! And so that's they thought they were going to have the day off. Isn't Labor Day strange? We take a vacation day on Labor Day. What's the deal with that? What political mindset said, I know what we should do for the American people who are laboring. We should give them a day off, and let's call it Labor Day. I like the idea of giving people a day off. You should just take one when you want it. I never went to school on my birthday just because I went, it's my day. It's my birthday. I don't have to come to school on my birthday. I didn't go to school on my birthday when I was born, and I'm not coming to school on my birthday now. And they go, well, you can't do that. And you go, yes, I can. It's my birthday. And so I would just get a slip and say, hey, stayed home yesterday. Why'd you stay home? It was my birthday. Go, can you do that? You go, ask the principal. So teachers go like, I guess it's okay. What do you mean it's okay? My parents excused it. You work for them. I got a different mentality, about things like that. You've noticed that by now, right? All right, I'm pulling out a couple of bamboo brushes here, so I don't have a big palette. So what I have to do is I'm a little more careful as I dip my brush into this small palette. Let me get my big old head out of the way here so if I can see just a little better. Let me move you over there. There we go. All right, so this is a little palette. How big is this palette? I thought you'd never ask. It's 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. There it is. And these things are not cheap. Someone gave me this one, and someone gave me this one. I am spoiled. I'll just tell you that. I love it. All right. So here we go. Why do I start with red? Why do I start drawing the head of the rooster first? Because that determines where his entire whole body is. A little more water in here. Just let some of this paint roll. Look at this paint. This is, you see how red this is going on here right now? I'm just going to tell you, folks, it's going to stay that red when it's done. It is so fun to paint with this watercolor paint. This is American Journey, and I love it. I know that there's some other paints that have the same feel to them. They do this really well. I just want you to be happy with what you paint with, okay? And here I am just throwing some water on this paper and letting it flow. So this is what I love right here. I can mix these colors over here, and you'll see sometimes I'll just mix a little different brown green. I'll use the lid for just a tiny bit of mixing, but I got used to watching my wife paint oil, and she would spend an hour, sometimes an hour and a half or more, mixing these colors. And you got to make sure you mix enough, because if you have to go back and do a remix, that's tough. So for me, have I ever been one to worry about a remix? No. All right, I'm painting with a number 1. I'm going to switch to a number 2 Yasutoma brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water in this tail here. Just a tad, just throwing some on there like that. This was clean water when it started. It's turning a little brown now. You can see a mason jar. I'm trying to pull in here close so you can see all this. Y'all see me do this a few times. All right, here's what I'm talking about, the mixing. You see where I just barely touched the yellow with the red, and I'm just letting it run in there. Don't feel bad if your macaroni runs into your potato salad. That's a lot of carbs you're eating if you're eating it that way. But people, you know when they give those kids those little plates that all have dividers, that's good for keeping it all separate, but it's hard to eat that way, because you're going like, I kind of like it when the gravy runs over there, and I kind of like it when they mingle. So me, I kind of like it like that. It's just how my brain works. That's not how I'm telling you you should paint. I'm telling you you should paint the way your style develops and that you love painting that way. Okay? That's how you should paint. I'm going to grab a little lamp black. These are, oops, I didn't. It looked like lamp black, but it's as purple as it could be. I'll just keep it and bring it down in here. What am I going to do, erase a mistake? I guess I don't have black in this palette. That's good. A lot of times there's black and whites are not in watercolor palettes. But sometimes if you're in a hurry, like guys like me, you'll go ahead and put black in there just to, you can make blacks, you can make blues, you can make purples, you can do all those. I like this amethyst anyway. If I want to tone that down or take it a little bit, I'll throw some red in there anyway, just to make this roux work. I do want some French gray, and I don't see that in this palette. So there is a palette that I work with 98% of the time when it's sitting here on my desk, and this palette here. By the way, these come in tubes. I just squeeze them in these little, this was a Van Gogh kit of paints that was sent to me. See, sent to me. My brother-in-law and his wife brought it from Italy when they were there. And now I just fill it with American Journey colors. Red Hot Mama, Gamboge, Ultramarine Blue, my three go-tos always. Why? Because I like bold, I like bright, and I like the way they run together. Gamboge is the yellow. Joe's red or Hot Mama red, either one. Sometimes I'll mix them. Ultramarine blue. I have two other blues here. I love Terry Tardy turquoise, just simply because it's in most of the palettes that I do. Here's why. Just a little touch of turquoise in there will pull the eye in, and I think that's fine. But that's kind of how that works. A little bit of pulling some of this white down and just letting it mix in here. I'm going to come in here kind of cleverly with a little of this, maybe just June bug. And I'm just going to let some dark come in on the shoulders here. And then I'm going to take a little of that and put it right here at the top of the leg too. Okay? And you notice I just didn't paint but one leg on this rooster. And here's why, because I'm going to have him poking his finger out here at this other rooster like I'm telling you what the story is. So here's where I'll mix a little bit. I could go get it right there. There's the perfect leg color. You see it right there? I could lay this brush down right here and just roll it in that, like so. And then I've got plenty to come down here and paint the legs with. So you see, I'm robbing from my paper palette to do that. I'm going to grab a little Gamboge right here. I'm going to grab just a little bit of this Joe's Red right here, or Hot Mama, one or the other. Hot Mama Red. Joe, I don't know how they get together and name his paintings. Just put a little bit of white in there. Look at this. It's just, I don't want real orange feet. I just want a working foot that's about out on the farm. Maybe I'll add a little dirt in there like that. Throw some of that in just like that. I mean, these are working chickens. Okay, my whole concept is this is the farm bard. This is the chicken. Look what happens with this little brush though when you just drift it in here like this. I'm leaving those holidays. You know what those are, right? Those are the little spots right there where nothing's happening. I like this little, just go in there. Look at that. I'm loving this right here. Okay, a little orange come down. I think I need a little of this June bug right in here for shadow, just behind his wattle. That's called the wattle right there. Okay, all right, so there's the one room. Man, that is a good room, even if I did paint it myself. Humility. Have you, as Guinevere in Camelot said to Sir Lancelot, "Oh, have you had a joust with humility lately?" All right, I started off talking about Tom Sawyer this morning. I went down the dusty trail here because I wanted to paint a rooster. So am I laboring today is the question. The question was, is Roo going to paint today since it's a holiday? It's Labor Day. And you go like, wait a minute. When has painting ever been a labor? And that's my question to you today as an artist. When has painting ever been a labor? For heaven's sakes, if you're laboring with your art, then maybe you need a holiday, a white space. Maybe you clean up your area and start fresh with 3 or 4 fresh colors, clean brushes, and a new piece of paper. Maybe you do, okay? Listen to this very carefully, Patreon class, because we've done this once, and we're probably going to do it again. So this is the precursor of driving this home to you to get you to look at your style and change. So I push people very hard for 90 minutes on Patreon, on the class that we do on the first Tuesdays of the month. And the reason for that is because you're the people who've committed and said, I want to take this somewhere. I want this to become more than just work. I want to become a style, maybe a lifestyle. That's what Tom Sawyer's quote meant this morning when I sent it out. Okay? All right. So now what I want to do is I want to go in here and I want to change this rooster completely. I want him to just be another little different rooster on the farm. I want him to look different. I want him to be a little different color. I want him to look like this is a hand-me-down. This is the king of the farmyard, but he's passing it on to maybe a son, maybe a stepson. I don't know how that works in the egg department. The fertilized egg department. I'm just not too sure how that works. But maybe he's passing on some of the duties, and maybe it's like maybe it's if you ever want to hear a different preacher at your church, if you go to a church, you ever want to hear a different pastor, you go on a holiday, except for Christmas and Easter, but you go on other holidays and you'll always get another pastor. It's because, well, it's Labor Day, so the ones who normally labor are off, and someone else will preach. I'm telling the truth, okay? You got to remember, I worked for churches for years, and so, someone asked me, did you ever preach? I go, well, I did a couple times when the pastor was on vacation on a holiday. So he goes, hey, you're going to preach, right? And I'm going like, yeah, I was going to Florida with no, I'm going to, you preach. I go, gotcha. So it's sort of like that's when you get the stand-in call. So look at this little Roo that I'm just drifting here with this wonderful little brush. I'm just making him look a little frazzled, a little, you can see it in his style. You can see it in his, and also his feet tend to be, he's the guy who's been out in the mud a little more. So I'm just going to go back over here to my premix, get some of this, some of this. Here's where a tiny little palette just helps me. See, instead of me having a big thing. Also, I like painting. Oh man, I leave a huge wake. Okay. You know what that means? That means that everywhere I go, I'm a little bit like, what was his name on Charlie Brown? Pigpen. I'm a little bit like Pigpen. I just leave this big old wake wherever I go. I need like 2 people walking behind me just to clean up stuff and say, don't worry, we'll put that up. Oh, did you leave that? No, I got it. Is that your, we'll take care of it. That's just kind of how I am in real life, because my brain is, I found a quote this week that is my brain. It says, people who are ADD, ADHD, your brain is like a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. I love that quote. And and it's like, you might have to just pump those brakes a few extra times. And I'm like, where's the fun in that? Yeah. So I race through. Look, I'm an old guy, and life gets shorter every day. And so it should be more blessed to you every day. All right, so you see where I'm going with this? All right. So I woke up this morning and was planning on painting, got up at my regular time, went and made some tea, and still babysitting a dog. And so I took the dog out, and then my phone beeped, and it was Michelle. And Michelle said, hey, some folks want to know if you're painting today. And I thought, uh-oh, what's the matter? Is this not a Monday? Because sometimes I mix the days up. And it's not it's not that I don't want to paint or forget a day. I'll just mix them up. And I said, and I went, oh my gosh, it's Labor Day. It's a holiday today. How could I not remember that it was Labor Day? Because every day is a work day for me, because every day is a play day, which reminded me of this story I'm about to tell you. And I'm going to put this aside and let it dry. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a caption on here because I think I'm done with this. Just a little splatter. Just see, I just held the brush over my hand and just blew some splatter in there. And there's the conversation right there. That's a Labor Day conversation if I've ever seen one. And I might come back in here with this pencil and just draw some, in a minute, just do a little more veining and some more toenails, some more definition. I like to do that in here. You see how well this is the '07 pintail needlepoint. You see how well that writes over that? Look at all the holidays and all of these. I'm going to put a little more just frilliness here. This guy's frazzled. You can see it in his eye. He's still kind. If I didn't want him to be so kind, I could draw him a little, oh, there it is right there. Just a little triangled eyelash. And now he just went from pleasant to like, I'm looking at you. See that? That was just with the stroke of this little pen. Did I study faces? No, I didn't study anything, people. I just study how to communicate with people and tell stories. That's what I study in life. Okay? All right. All right. When you throw the color down, yes. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Susie DeLay. You're on the show. Chris Whitaker, thanks for being on the show. Amy Ziegler, thanks for being here. All right, so what I was going to tell you is that every group of young people that I've ever worked with, and I'm working with some right now, gosh, about 15 or 20 of them just on some storytelling. It's really fun. And I said work with them, right? I think I'm playing more than anything else. I go in and I just drop something in the floor and I say, there's a story in this. We got to find it. We got to get it out. I used to buy this book, and And I mentioned the political world a few minutes ago about why Labor Day is Labor Day. I don't know. It ought to be Play Day. It ought to be just go cook a rib day or something. Um, Memorial Day, I get it. We're celebrating. Christmas, I get it. Valentine's, I don't really get it because I think it was invented by Hershey's to sell and by florists to sell flowers and candy. If you gave your spouse candy or friends candy and flowers during the year, would you need Valentine's Day to say, oh, I've got to do a card. I'm so stressed out over getting my Valentine's out. And you go, why don't you just every day say, hey, I love you today. You're awesome. Why don't you just keep a list of people on the wall that you send text to every now and then? So I don't feel like, did you send him a birthday card? I go, no, I sent him two notes this week, though, about how this and this needed to happen. And I'm thinking of him, and they're like, oh, okay. So I think of life a little differently. But I buy this book. This is the paperback. I have the hardback somewhere over there. I'd buy this paperback for all my young team members, not as a political statement. I'm sure this is on the PC list. Don't read it today in schools because the language is written in Southern. It's by himself, Mark Twain. You know, Clemens was just a powerful Southern writer who traveled the world, who was a brilliant man. He was before his time. He had to be. But I said about one time, this is chapter 2 in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And there it is. There's the cover. Someone said, look, Tom is painting the fence. So there's a lot of art in this for me. And I'm going to read you something this morning while this dries for a second, okay? Can I take a sip of tea and just read you something? And here's what I memorized without looking at it. Saturday morning was come, and all the summer world was bright and fresh and brimming with life. Cardiff Hill and above the valleys was verdant green. And he goes on through the thing. I memorized this entire second chapter one time. And one time, just to be sort of a know-it-all, I just came out. I did this in the middle of a play one time, but I also just went out and would just take off on this story. And I would just start reciting these 4 or 5 pages. It's a short chapter. But I would do this whole story from memory. And my team would go, has he lost his cotton picking mind? And I go, you're closer than you think. And I tell the story. I want to read you a part today and see if it ties in to where you are today, where you are in your art, and connect it here. So it's Cardiff Hill beyond the village, green with vegetation. It lay just far enough away to be a delectable land. It was dreamy, reposeful, and inviting. Your art should be dreamy and reposeful and inviting. You see how, for me, everything is a connection? Now, I know if you're in a school system, you probably can't read this book, but you're on Facebook. I don't think they're going to throw me out for passing on a great piece of work here. Tom appeared on the sidewalk with a bucket of whitewash and a long-handled brush. He surveyed the fence, and all gladness left him, and a deep melancholy settled down upon his spirit. Sometimes we as artists will approach a beautiful piece of paper with a brush and some beautiful colors, and this melancholy will sit down upon us, and the fright will come in, and we'll go, what if I mess this up? That wasn't what Tom was thinking. He was thinking, why do I have to paint this fence? Because when he looked out at the fence, if you know the story goes on, it looked like a continent of unwhitewashed fence. Far-reaching continent. And he sat down on a stump. I got some stumps in my backyard. Sit down on the stump, discouraged. And then people start coming by. You know, they start coming by, and his first friend comes by. Jim comes by, and Jim goes, what are you doing, Tom? He says, I'm painting the fence. He said, you want to paint it for me? He said, I'll go get your water. He says, no, I can't do that. He says, why not? He says, because, well, I can't. They go through this whole deal, and he's setting up a scenario for how your painting has to be so particular that no one can do it but you. Now, there's some truth in that. But at the same time, it goes on. And then, of course, he hadn't been there until Ben Rogers hove into sight. And Ben comes in pretending that he's a steamship. And I love that Mark Twain writes all the things in here. He goes, shh, and he's rotating his arms, and he's going, ting-a-ling-a-ling, dong-dong, whoop, whoop, and he's whooping like that as a steamship would. And he backs into the dock, pretending he's a steamship. Circle back starboard, hold on the larboard, bring it in, hold on the starboard, gauge cocks down. All right, and he lands the steamship, and then he turns around and he says, oh, Tom, Or Tom turns around and he says, "Oh, Ben, it's you. I weren't noticing." Ben's eating an apple. And he says, "What you doing there, Tom?" And he says, that's where the story gets good. No answer. "Hi, you up a stump, ain't you?" No answer. Tom surveyed his last touch with the eye of an artist. He's got this big brush and he's whitewashing the fence. He gave his brush another gentle sweep and he surveyed the results as before. Don't you love it when you watch an artist paint sometime and they'll do this? They'll just kind of take it and they'll go, "Ah." There is something so fun and refreshing, and as my grandkids say, that's just satisfying about that. "Hello, chap, you got work to do, huh? You got work to do," Tom said. "Oh, why, it's you, Ben. I weren't noticing. Say, I'm going swimming, I am. Don't you wish you could? But of course you'd rather work, wouldn't you? You'd rather work." And he goes, Tom contemplated the boy and said, "What do you call work?" And Ben says, "Why, ain't that work?" Tom resumed his whitewashing, and he answered carefully, "Well, maybe it is, and maybe it ain't. All I know is it suits Tom Sawyer." There is a childlikeness in this that I wish every artist could find in their heart. Is that work? I don't know. Maybe it is, and maybe it ain't. But it suits, and put your name in there. And that's when you want to break through and say, it doesn't matter if I'm a good artist or not. It matters that I think like an artist. I'm painting a fence, for heaven's sakes. Oh, come on now. Don't mean to tell you that you like that. Brush continued to move. Like it? Well, I don't see why I don't like it. Does a boy get a chance to whitewash a fence every day? That put things in a new light. Ben stopped nibbling his apple. Tom swept the brush daintily back and forth, skipped back to note the effect. Don't you love that when artists do that? I don't know why they do it. I know they do it some for scale. I do get this. If I'm scaling something, I have to look. I have to go across. I have to hold my pencil and I have to come down. People are trained and they have great God-given gifts to paint, and some didn't start out. They started out as CPAs, and they started out as school teachers, and they started out as electricians and truck drivers and welders and storytellers, and then they stumbled into it, and they came at it in their own approach, and they loved it, and they fell in love with it. And that's kind of what I'm chasing for you guys. The brush continued to move. Ben was watching every move, and he got more and more interested. "Say, Tom, let me whitewash a little." Tom considered it, was about to consent, but he altered his mind. No, I reckon it wouldn't hardly do. Yeah, Ben, you see, Aunt Polly's awfully particular about her fence right here. And I wouldn't mind if it was me, but if this were the back fence, I wouldn't mind, and she wouldn't mind. But she's awfully particular about this fence here. It's got to be done carefully. I reckon there ain't one boy in 1,000, maybe a boy in 2,000 that can do it the way it's got to be done. "No, is that so? Come on, let me try. You got to let me try now, only just a little. I'd let you if it was me, Tom. Ben, I'd like to. Honest, I would. But Aunt Polly, well, Jim wanted to, and Sid wanted to, and shucks, I'd just be as careful. Now let me try. Say, I'll give you the core of my apple. Well, here. No, Ben. No. I'm afraid. Look, I'll give you all of my apple." Tom gave up the brush with reluctance in his face, but excitement in his heart. And while the late steamer, the big Missouri, who came in as a steamboat, worked and sweated in the sun, the retired artist sat on a barrel in the shade close by, dangled his legs, munched on his apple, and planned the slaughter of more innocent victims. A skip, and listen to this. Work consists of whatever a body is obliged to do, and play consists of whatever a body is not obliged to do. And wow. Don't you love that? It just goes on and on. You see how that story is? So I would tell these young people that if you tackle your work with such excitement, you're going to have people show up around the table and say, I want to do that. I want to do that. And you say, well, I do this pretty well, and this is a masterpiece. I mean, I'm working on this for a friend, but okay. And hey, I'll trade you a new pocket knife or a bully taw. A bully taw. It's a marble for shooting. Suitable for looking through. Michael Ashburn and I used to tell this story and say, "I give you a bully taw marble, suitable for looking through." You look through a marble, it's like a kaleidoscope. The world looks differently. So you want the people that work around you and in your classroom to say, I'll let you help on this, but this is not work. So I work to play and play to work. And so I do things that I enjoy. But I haven't always been able to do that. But even the jobs that I haven't, I try to do them in such a way that people will go, hey, it's a little bit like Mac McAnally's song that Jimmy Buffett recorded called Street Sweeper. If you haven't heard it, you should look it up. The other day he's walking by and he sees a street sweeper. And he asked him, he said, why are you whistling? He says, cause it's my job to be cleaning up the streets. And that's the thing that I'm good at. He goes, wow, that's an interesting thought. And he goes, somebody's got to be good at this. And I want to be great at it. All right. So you catch a little story every now and then from me about why I love books, why I love literature like that. It just blows my mind. This one has a Labor Day catch to it, and I think it's going to be, you forgot to wake up the farm. It's Labor Day. Yeah, well, it was a holiday. When's labor and get a holiday? And so I'm going to write a little caption on that. All right, so I want to show you a couple other things. So I like these two roosters. I like the concept. I like the power struggle. And I like the reality of what's going to happen in all my paintings is the underdog is going to win. So he's going to say something that sets him straight. That's just the way my communications go. And that's kind of the way my life is. That's how people write Hallmark movies if you're into watching those, okay? Other than the fact if it's a romantic comedy, whoever the romantic lead is, she always gets off of a bus going from somewhere. She's lost her job. She goes into a place thinking that she never wants to be there, and her suitcase is run over by someone, a truck, a car, a motorcycle, or she drops it off a plane. Something always happens. I'm thinking, all right. So you guys are, I'm looking at some quotes here. I don't think I have any questions, but I got a lot of quotes from you guys, so I appreciate those always. It's always so fun to have some quotes hanging around out there. So thank you. I'll read back through these today if I have a little time. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. Hey, here's why I have two of these on the thing. Okay. Drawing pads. I'm going to put this over here later on. Why do I use two drawing pads? Okay. And by the way, I love these. I love them. I've used a lot of, and this is just Strathmore. This, you pick this up at your big box store. I actually bought these at Cheap Joe's the other day when I was there, and I took the tags off of them, but they cost $2.39 each. And there's 24 sheets. So you figure it out. Okay. So that's 10 cents a sheet. So 10 cents is worth me wasting something. Why do I buy two? Good question. Well, it wasn't that I just was trying to be greedy and think I wouldn't use 24, but I'll use 24 of these pretty quickly. But if I paint on one, let's say that I just open up one and I paint a little bee like this. There's a bee there, there's a bee there. I paint this little bee and I'm sitting there and I just doodle this little bee on here. And I put him there, he's there. It's something you don't hardly ever see me do, right? Erase a little line. I wanted that to be a true circle. And so I just took my coffee coaster over here and laid it down and traced it. You want to see what I did? I just laid this on the painting right like this, and I just put a little fine line there because my writing is so bad anyway that forces me. So once this one's wet, then what I'll do is I'll just turn to another one and start doing one on this one and give this a chance to dry. Because if I'm in a working, playing mode, see, working, playing mode, if I'm in a painting mode, then I don't want to go, I don't want, now my phone rings, which is fine, but someone will say, hey, what are you doing? And I go, watching paint dry. And they go, no, seriously, what are you doing? I go, I'm watching paint dry. I literally am watching paint dry. So I want to keep my movement going if I'm into the flow, no pun intended, but a good place there. And so this paper works well for that reason. Let me see if I just did. There's another bee right here. Someone sent me an idea of this and I captured it. Here's the one I did the other day. There it is. Don't make me come over there. It's the one I did the other day. This is 562. This is 571. So there's 9 bees between these two. So that means I ran away. Oh, I did. I ran away and I did something else. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, here's one I did last night. Look at this one. There's 569. A little more honey in my tea, please. And then here's Long Live the Queen. So there she is. Thought about marking her with a little Terry Tardy turquoise here. You know what? I'm going to do that. Why would you do that? Because lots of times, Mike Paramore can tell you, men who are beekeepers and switch their hives around will take a little spot of paint and they'll mark a queen so they can easily spot her if they have to transfer her to another swarm. And so there's a type of paint that they use that doesn't hurt the bee. And so there's a little thing. So I painted those two in between there. Now I'm going to show you the difference in some pads. Okay, this is 324. There he is. There's 381. Man, there's a lot of time between that one. Okay, so take a look at this paper. Hear that? Now listen to this paper. Ooh, all right, so look what this says. It says sketching paper. By the way, I bought this not to paint on, but I demoed these bees on here to show you this. Sometimes you'll say, ooh, I can get this for $1.50 on sale at Walmart or Michael's or somewhere, and it's called Artist Loft. And is it good paper? It's paper. They're not going to be a sponsor soon. It's paper. It's very inexpensive paper. I didn't say cheap. I said it's inexpensive paper, and it's just paper. I buy this to take phone notes on so that I don't write all over my pad. So this would have been a great thing to write down here when I said bee numbers and this. But this is only 60 pounds, and it's pretty inferior. And painting on it is a lot like painting on the dictionary page when some of you are painting books now or book pages. Should you learn how to paint on that? You bet. Michelle spent a whole 6 or 7 months painting on receipts. She had to be tenderly, carefully with the water because you hit a receipt with water and it just runs everywhere. So I think you should learn how to paint on everything. Everything. Newspaper, newsprint, whatever. But I chose this paper to make little notes on for my phone. I choose this paper to do little sketches on that really will frame well and are very substantial. Okay, so I love the concept of using this paper for that. And here's one that I just started this morning. So this one was drying. I started in on this one, and there he is. And so I'll probably come back and add to that. And so this is 80-pound paper. So let me show you the cover one more time. There it is. It's drawing paper. It has this lady on it right here that looks a little bit like, the eyes maybe look a little bit like a young Brooke Shields. I don't know who she is. And why do I remember that? I don't know. Maybe her eyes, she was that person. It's made up in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's made by the Dixon Ticonderoga Company. What else do they make? Pencils. It used to be Ticonderoga, and it used to be Dixon. Now it's Dixon Ticonderoga. They said, hey, let's get together. Let's build a pencil. This one doesn't have a name on it, but I probably have one of those pencils here. I think they're the yellow pencils we use. I don't use those. I use Murata Black Warriors most of the time when I have them here. Is this one right here? There's the Dixon Ticonderoga right there, black. Ta-da! Okay, so Strathmore paper, it's 24 sheets, and I buy them for that purpose. So that helps you understand why I do what I do. Believe it or not, there's a little rhyme or reason to it, and I'm going to show you a demo right now just for fun, all right? So here we go. I'm going to grab a piece of this, just another page there, and I'm going to grab a piece of this. So this is the, you got it, drawing paper, 80 pound. This is the sketching paper, 60 pound. Okay, so there we go. It's a little whiter. I wish this paper were this color. I wish, and to the point where I think I'll wish them a note. And this is what I talked to Hobby Lobby about. If they could get me an 80 to 100 pound paper, sketching paper that had this surface but was bright white, I'd be all over that in a flash. I'd be running down there right now. I would fly to Oklahoma City and hug Steve Green. So there, that's how I feel about that. Let me show you what's going to happen with just two little bees right here that I'm just going to doodle on real quickly, okay? Need a little bee doodling music. I got time here. All right, got the demo coming. Look out. Light touch with moisture, pads all over this. All you guys who do this sort of thing, and especially when you see Chris Whitaker do a certain thing on hot press, or when you see Pat do some of her cartoons on cardstock, these people have gone through some paper. And Julie Walden, you got to figure out what the heck that you're doing. So because you will ruin this piece of paper in a flash with too much water. This is not the water for bamboo brushes. This is the water for a little more tighter, careful brush, and maybe even a brush you haven't seen me use before. This little dagger brush works well with this. This little, this is a 00 brush here. Look at the end on this brush. And you go like, what in the world is that guy doing? You might as well paint with a safety pin. All right, so here we go. Watch this. Here, let's just do these random. Here we go. Let's see. Is that black? Is this black? I think this is black. Now we got mine. All right, here we go. Let's do this way. Let's do this one here. All right, so we'll just come down. I need some music. I gotta paint this some music. Put that back on right there. All right, so that's good to there. What happened? All right, here we go. All right. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm just saying that, look, what's happening. You see, it's crinkling the paper a little more. You can't probably see what I see, but it's going to dry at a different time. I'm trying to use the same amount of water. I'm trying to do this in the same way. Grab this little brush right here. Whoops. This is tough. I've never done this before. You're like, well, he looks like he's drawing something from Halloween there for a second. Let's just go get a little bit of this and just go out here. A little of this and go out here. All right, let's grab a little bit of gamboge. Come back in here. Go down in there and try to not hit the black completely, but there will be a time where I'll hit it and it'll run together. And take a look at what's happening. This paper is absorbing the ink a little faster. I have to clean that brush out a little bit. This is what I do. This is play for me. Welcome to play on Labor Day. This is what I do right here. All right, so let's go in here with a little bit of French gray. And come back here and just in his fanny. Now I'm hitting this black a little bit because I want to pull some of that in. And I love the way this has. Now here it's not as dry on this paper because this paper doesn't have much tooth. It's a lot slicker. This has a little tooth. That's why I like the drawing paper better for what I'm doing. And you're going to go, hey, I like this one just as well. It's just an inferior piece when it comes time to frame. But will it hold up? Heck yeah, it'll hold up. I'm going to grab a little bit of something I don't see in either one of these. Here's a little bit of color that I'll use right here. This is this, I think this is this June bug color. Is that, yeah, we'll just take that. We'll just rock a little of that up like that. Come back in for the wing. Do the same here. Come in a little bit like this. Back in for the wing. And then I'm going to just do a clean brush. And I'm just going to, whoa, a clean brush. I'm just going to let that just kind of run together in the colors. You know, a little touch more of it there. Yeah. Okay, if I pick up a little yellow in those wings, look, they're coming back in there. If I get too much, I'll go in and just touch it like that and come back in and add my yellow in there like this. This is harder than you think, just trying to do two like this. Now, so you see what's happening to those bees, okay? They're coming together. It reminds me of painting created with a stick for a brush. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right, so I'm going to grab my fountain pen, and I can grab that little brush, but I'm just going to grab my fountain pen. I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to put some, you call them hair. The bee people call them pile, P-I-L-E. That's kind of the little, and I'll come in here, and I'll put the wings in this, and then maybe just a little more beef right in here to this. And just a little, look, let some of that run down in there. Man, this is so fun to do. Give me a little bit of just pile up here, not too much. This thing is still not dry. This one's beginning to soak it up because of the tooth in the paper, 80 pound. This one is still sort of laying on there. And what you can't see, I don't think, is there's no way to show you this. You can see those shiny spots right there. You see that, those two spots that are really shining? That's where the paper's beginning to dip in because it's a little too thin. Great for notes, not great for art. Good for pencil. Call it a sketching paper. Not even as heavy as a drawing paper. They make a 4x6 watercolor, but it's too stiff for me to paint on, and I just don't care for it, and so I don't carry that around much. But I love carrying this paper around and ripping off a little pad of this. I'm going to take some of these to camp with me and just paint a little painting and rip it off and give it to folks. And that's kind of what I do with those, so that really it's kind of fun. Now what I'll do here is I'll just let these dry a little bit. I still have some yellow in this brush, so I'm going to grab where's my pencil? I'm just going to grab my pencil and do a little splatter here around that in yellow, do a little splatter here in yellow, and then I'm going to let this dry just a little bit, and then I'm probably going to come in with this pen and do a little more detail right here. These are more bumblebees and honeybees, but you get the feel. A bee is a bee to me, and I'm a honey guy, but they're pollinators today. I'm not looking at them as my life's blood. However, I did go through all my honey recently, and I was up in Highlands, North Carolina, and I bought some sourwood that I must say is just off the chain. It is fantastic. Wow. I got so excited about putting it on a biscuit yesterday. Speaking of biscuits, all right, looks like the sketch paper's too thin to soak up the paint. Yes, Lisa, that's exactly where I was headed. And what happens is it'll lay there and it'll eventually soak up, and it'll eventually do okay. Here's a piece of it when you see it right here. This is that same paper. And look, it's wait a minute, I think there's two pieces there. Oh, there's another one. What happens is it tends to just want to waver and run a little more than I might want it to. But should you practice on stuff like this? Yes. But I do love these. Buy 2 or 3 if you're going to, so you can switch back and forth, and it's okay if you waste one completely learning how to paint on the other one. You can do that too. I just wanted to do that demo for you this morning and get a feel for that. Here's one that worked out really well on that paper, and man, I was tenderly, and you see also how the paper sort of shines through even after it dries. But I kind of like that in this particular bee. I want him to be a little lighter. See what I did? Safari, Jason, on this paper wouldn't work well. You could use a Safari on this one, but man, you'd have to be really careful because there's some serious bleeding from the Safari ink. Who won the rooster giveaway last week? I missed seeing the post. I don't know, but I have her name down here in my email. I'm so sorry. Somebody who had never won on this show before, so forgive me. All right. Hey, it's about time for me to go have a biscuit, and so I thought I'd just show you this because I like biscuits. So here we go. I bumped into a guy several years ago from Bojangles. You know, we have Bojangles here, and Zane is living with us for a while. He's from Spokane, and he said, one of the places I want to eat is I've never eaten at a Waffle House. And I laughed, and he said, no, I'm serious. And I've never eaten at a Bojangles. I'm going like, okay, dude, here's the experience. And he said, you've been to Bojangles? I said, oh, yeah, I met a guy there who was doing marketing one day, and I convinced him to let me come the next morning and not close the restaurant, but just shoot a commercial. So I'm going to have to go make some biscuits because this is what I played for myself this morning. And it just, so I'm going to play this. I'm going to come back and say goodbye. I'm going to clean this mess up. The biscuit is about welcome.
Welcome home.
It says to family, to friends and gatherings, hospitality is here. Simple, southern, unpretentious. You ever notice toast?
No.
Right. It's stiff, it's coarse, it's noisy, almost square, stands at attention. Toast says, I'm eating alone. But the biscuit is about community. It's folded and rolled and hand sculpted. It's even baked in community. Let's go, the biscuit says. Everyone in, we got friends to feed. Are you dancing?
Sometimes I dance when I bake. It keeps the biscuits light.
You can go plain and simple, butter, or you can break them out at wedding receptions, ball games, graduations events. You can dress biscuits up. Oh, this is good.
They're real good.
You serve a real homemade, handmade biscuit, and you're going to bring people together.
We bake them by the dozen, fresh every 20 minutes.
Every time I look at that, I have to go bake biscuits. And that lady was so cool. She was sort of shifting her feet. And I said, are you dancing? She said, sometimes. I said, why do you dance? She said, I don't know. I said, I think you do. Could it be to keep the biscuits light? And she goes, That's what I'm going to say the rest of my life. So it was fun. I shot that without Bojangles shutting down. I shot it in the kitchen, and I had the guys come to me, and they said, "Wait, how did you get your camera in our oven?" And I said, "I just cut a hole in the back." And they went, "Oh, no, 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 no." I asked her to leave that oven off before I got there that morning, and I set my camera back in there, and I just shot that. And so, hey, somebody asked me this question. Now I want a biscuit. Me too. That's why I showed that. Will this come through? And the answer is a little bit. See there, you're about to see it. Oh no, you can't see that, for heaven's sakes, man. Get in the ball game here. Boom. You see this right here? Yeah, see, it's just about to come through. And there you can see some of the bend in the paper. This is what I want to show you. There it is. Take a look. Could you put this on a back piece once it dried and then still frame it? You bet you could. But you're giving yourself a little more work and multitasking to do. But there's the little, see it, where it's crumbling right there. If I were to touch it right now, my pen would go right through it. Take a look. Take a look. You think I'm kidding? Look. Boop. See that? Just punch a hole in it. Okay. So this one, take a look. Still true on the back. See that? Look. But a very one little place where I got heavy right there, but no, just a bend. There's no. It's big difference. Seriously, big difference. Okay. You can see through the paper. That's what you're seeing in the white light. But there's no evidence of the, and my Safari pen, my Lamy does go through. Okay, so that's why I wanted to show you about that again. And then I'll keep this one. I'll finish him up on this paper, and I'll just put a couple little fun, some more hairs and pile on him and do some of this in a little bit. And I might even go in and get a piece of this orange and just hang some pollen down there on his legs just to kind of come in like that and loosen that up just a little bit. There we go. So, and I might want to come in with a little bit of white on these wings and mark some of that out that just got a little too dark up there. So there's so many things you can come back and touch up later and just enjoy this. So it's Labor Day, so you should go play. Figure it out, okay? Hey, off to labor in my kitchen, biscuit bacon, banana cake just out of the oven. Dang, that sounds good. I might just have to go to Dunkin' Donuts and not bake my own here. Eating some muscadine jelly with my biscuit right now. Oh my gosh, you guys. Hey, thanks for loving my show. Thanks for sharing it with people, and thanks for being a part of Roodoodles. You know, the books are available on Amazon.com. Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow? Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle with me and Pat Brooks, and Roobots is a coloring book if you haven't tried that for your kids. And I don't know, I might do a Bee-Bots book too. I might do a bee coloring book. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these bees, but I know it's been fun. It was so fun to send them out for the auction and put the bees with those flowers that my friends from David's Table did. And we'll be at their camp this week, and that'll be fun. I'm going to try and post from there a couple times, but I'm going to try and see if I can at least phone post from there on this page on Saturday morning. So a week from this past Saturday. That's the was that the 9th? I think, is that right? No, that's Friday, so it's be the 10th. The 10th, I think, is the day. I think we're going down a day early just to meet with some of the staff, and I have to be in Asheville. I got to go through Asheville. I'll also post on Thursday afternoon from Libby's shop, the Gardener's Cottage in Asheville. I'll be posting from there, see if I can get Libby to say hello. And James Farmer is there selling his new cookbook, and I'm taking him down some bee bookmarkers. So that's kind of why we're going to that. Blessings to you all. Thanks for sharing my page. So I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Here's we need a list of the bee attitudes. Ooh, I think that's good. All right. Hey, I'm got my cup. I got my harmonica. I've got what more can a man need? I'm going to just take a sip, and I'm going to look over here at the wall and see who I need to text today and say, quit working and play at something. And then I'm going to go read why we thought Labor Day was a good name for a holiday. It should be Playful Day or something, or Make Art Day. Hey, if they ask you if you're an artist, you say this: I think like one. That'll change everything. Let's see. Got it.